started, does everybody have a Wi-Fi password, or do you need it if you don't have it? It's going to be, I believe it is Rebellion. I think that's right. That sounds right. All lowercase. But thanks for coming out. I know everybody is dealing with some sort of referral spam in their analytics traffic. Just based on your face right there, you're like, yes, I am, and I hate it. So everybody feels the same way. John has been coming to the group, I think, since, we're trying to narrow it down, maybe October. We started last September. So we've been going for about a year now. And he came down from DFW SEM, so Dallas Fort Worth Search Engine Marketing Group. Once he moved down here, kind of found out about us, came out, has started writing some different blogs about different speakers, and he's just kind of been a staple and one of the guys that always shows up every week. So it's really cool to have him be able to talk today. Last month we discovered his whole topic. He was talking to somebody else about how he was dealing with referral spam. And both of us, Sean Dolan and I both were like, you should talk about that. So as soon as we announced it, a lot of people were like, that's really timely, thank you. So hopefully you guys get something out of this today. Take some photos, tweet about it, use the hashtag SearchHOU. And as always, there's beer and water in there, and just invite a friend next time. And John, it's all you.
All right, thank you, Aaron. Appreciate you guys coming out today. So referral spam, I know that y'all are very annoyed by it as well. Referral spam is something that kind of came up about a year ago for me, and it was more of an annoyance at first, then it kind of grew into full-blown pain in the rear. And so it was kind of weird because when I first started with referral spam, I just kind of thought that I was maybe doing a little better job marketing than before. And I thought, well, getting a whole lot of visitors coming into the site, this is pretty cool. And so it was kind of like a euphoric moment when I was looking at my Google Analytics. It's like, yes, more traffic. This is awesome. I've pretty much doubled what I've done last year without a whole lot of extra effort, maybe a little bit of blogging here and there. So apparently what I've done is good. There were more sessions than ever before, so I was loving this. I was just getting lots of sessions coming in, but I did kind of start to look a little bit further on my Google Analytics side there, and next to sessions, I noticed that really the average time spent reading on the site was pretty poor. So I started to get a little bit despondent, have a bit of despair, and I was thinking, why is nobody reading my stuff? And then I looked at my bounce rate, and I started to get really irritated, and I was like, well, why is everybody leaving? I'm in the web development field, I come to these SearchHOU groups, DFW SEM, go to all the different things around town, I check out the videos online. Why is everybody leaving? What am I doing wrong? The ultimate test for your website is, how come nobody's calling me? I'm spending all this money on Google pay-per-click ads. We're bringing in all these torrents of traffic into the website, but my phone has yet to ring. So in the beginning, last October, maybe a little bit before, I found CMalt. CMalt, they must be the answer to all of my cures. They're a SEM type outfit. They didn't have pricing up originally. I looked this morning, sorry, and they do have pricing up today. But I didn't realize at the time they were pretending to be a host referrer link. And so what they do is they pretend to visit your site and pretend to get in there and look around like a normal human, but they're not. They're a crawler. They come in. They're not obviously humans. They're bots. And so how does it function? What's their whole purpose? Their purpose is having folks like us go look at Google Analytics, get curious, go back to their website, and buy their services for $15 a month or so. So that's their whole business model. So CMalt gets more traffic. I'm not really sure how this is working out for them, but eventually it should profit. That's their whole business goal. But in CMalt, I'm sure most of you have been able to block CMalt. A few Google searches here, you found that, I don't know if you looked on Twitter, they've got their PR representative, probably from North Korea, on there talking about how great CMalt is and how they're actually good and beneficial for all of mankind, but we figured that out, that they're not. They've been blocked. I'm sure you guys have blocked them at the server level. The other problem I saw coming up, which is much harder to block, you couldn't block them with a htaccess file. You couldn't block them on Nginx. You couldn't send your your hosting provider a ticket and ask them to block these guys because they're ghost spam. Ghost spam or ghost referral spam, they never actually visit your site. What they do is they go through, and I'm not sure how they do it, but they execute the JavaScript somehow, and they do that, pretend to visit your site, so they're much harder to block. But today's methods, don't worry, I'm going to teach you how to block both the traditional referral spam and also this ghost referral spam. So ghost referral spam, like I mentioned, can't be blocked by the server. They never visit your site. There's some sort of weakness in the Google JavaScript code that allows them to register a visit to your site without ever having visited. So this first step is to identify the spammers. I know some of you are very well versed in identifying the spammers, but there are others who may not be sure how to identify them. So we'll go over that first. Might as well go over the problem, right? So the problem is folks like this, localhost 8884, not sure what their business objective is. I don't think any of us are going to localhost, but Sexy Alley, I don't think my wife wants me visiting that one. Quality Market Zone, all referral spam. There are some telltale signs. Some of you probably noticed that if the sessions equals the number of users, that is a telltale sign for referral spam. So sessions equals number of new users. If the bounce rate is 100%, that's another one. If the average session duration is 0 seconds, that's another one. But referral spammers do change it up, so you can't use those particular rules to weed out everybody. If you could, this would be an easy rule in Google Analytics, and you'd filter them out. But the telltale signs for most referral spam is sessions equals new users, pages per session is 1, nice 1.0.0. Average session duration, 0 seconds. So if you look at those, that will get you most of the folks that are spammers, but it's not perfect. It doesn't catch the more sophisticated bots. It doesn't catch bots from legit referrers. So let's say, for example, you've got a Facebook ad or a Facebook page, and the bots come in through that and land on your site. It won't catch those. And bots may not be bots. They might just be folks that are blocking cookies, that are privacy-conscious folks. That's something we should always factor in. But, privacy-conscious folks is not 50, 75, 80, 90% of your traffic. It's probably less than 5%. All right, so I know a lot of you guys are SEO folks in the room. A lot of you are internet marketing folks. And by proceeding through this presentation, you are agreeing to the following. You will not laugh at my traffic. And you will not talk to me about your landing page and how awesome you're doing with your landing page. I don't want to hear it today. I'm more of a web developer, web designer. I do on-page SEO, but the rest is up to you guys. All right, so we've proceeded, so we've all agreed. Here's my traffic as of this morning. We've got 3 different views. Pretty sophisticated. We've got 3 different views. We've got our main view, our test view, and our unfiltered view. Whenever you apply these tests to your website, you should have a minimum of, I'd say, 3 views. A main, test, unfiltered. That's similar to what the Google Analytics folks will teach you during their training academy. And the reason is because anytime you apply these changes to your site, they are permanent. So if you screw it up and you destroy all of your analytics on your main and only view, that is your fault. Also part of my disclaimer. You didn't see it. It was an invisible link. But yeah, so here's my traffic here. The unfiltered view here is getting about 454 sessions as of the last month. That is rife with bots. The rest of the main and the test view, there's nothing under test right now, so that's why they're the same. So there are some common approaches to referring or to getting rid of referral spam, both traditional and ghost referral spam. You've probably seen it. It's the blacklist approach, very similar to what you guys have done with your email. You see some stuff coming from Russia or perhaps the Ukraine, and it has some words in there that probably shouldn't be in an email address. You can block them out. Same thing on your website, block them out. The other approach is the whitelist approach, and that's letting in the good guys and forgetting about everybody else. So kind of like what Aaron did today when we were all coming in. Let in the good guys, kept out everybody else. But the whitelist approach is pretty limited, and if you have a number of clients, it's hard to keep up with that. So a whitelist for an oil and gas client is going to look different than a whitelist for a medical client. It's going to look different from a whitelist for a traditional business client or any other industry. So there's a lot of work for both the blacklist and the whitelist approach. There's also segments, which are great, but segments are they're temporary. And so it's good for trying stuff out, but segments aren't permanent, and you do have to keep up with it with both the blacklist and whitelist approach, whatever you prefer. So today, we're going to discuss the cookie approach. Cookie approach is something I stumbled across on the internet, And after looking at all the other ones, I was like, there's got to be a better way. There's got to be a better way. There's got to be a better way. Weeks later, a month or two later, looking and looking, it's like there has to be a way to filter these guys out. And from what I found, cookies is the way. Now, if you guys find something later on, come back here a month or two from now and say, John, this didn't work because this and this and this, please let me know. So don't think this is the Bible or anything. This is just what we found over time. And there's other folks on the internet using this as well. Seems to work pretty well. I haven't had to mess with referral spam since I implemented this at least 3 months ago. So it's been very successful for me. I know there's been lots of folks who jump on this referral spam bandwagon, and I haven't had to mess with it at all anymore, which is awesome because I got better stuff to do. All right. So we've got a computer here, that's us, and we've got our nice little web browser in there. And we've got the cookie approach that we see there in the upper left or upper right. We've also got this is your measurement area. So those three things in place are conceptually what we need to keep referral spam out. Now we're using Google Tag Manager. My particular method here uses Google Tag Manager. You can create cookies any number of ways. I know Jesse here could probably tell you 12 different ways to Sunday before he's done with his beer. He could tell you how to do it. But Google Tag Manager is a pretty easy way for internet marketers to create cookies, and it's easy for you to maintain as well. It's one nice little spot. Google maintains it. It's good for all your other tags. In fact, in the room, how many people here use Google Tag Manager? Show of hands. All right, cool. So we've got about a third of the room. The interface has gotten a lot better. Since last year the interface was terrible. It took me hours to figure out even how to use it, but now it's much more user-friendly. I was on there the other day, and they actually popped up and asked me a question and said, hey, what would you like to use for this term? So they were kind of asking people what made sense instead of just making up words and throwing them at us, which was kind of cool. But Google Tag Manager, awesome service that Google provides for us. Google Analytics, which of course you guys are all familiar with. So we're going to use these three things in tandem to help weed out these bots. So here's your executive summary. Each of you today will get a 4-page procedure that tells you how we do it. It's super in-depth. I wasn't going to go over that today because you guys would have all fallen asleep. I would have had to tell Aaron to give you a bunch of coffee. We would have had Starbucks here, and it wouldn't have been a fun meeting. So we got a 4-page handout for all you guys. And all I ask is that you do not distribute it to everybody on the internet. Just keep it amongst yourselves. And if you do distribute it, at least give me a little bit of credit. All right, so the first thing we need to do when you visit your website is to use Google Tag Assistant. This is an extension for Chrome. It's the best way that I found out to view tags on your website, and it will view tags whether you use Google Tag Manager or you use the standard snippets of code that Google Analytics will provide for you. So Google Tag Manager is a great extension for Chrome. Who's used Google Tag Assistant? Who has used Google Tag Assistant? All right, so we've got a couple. It's a free one, very easy to use. It's super helpful. So after you create the Google Tag Assistant, what you're doing with Google Tag Assistant is you're checking your website and you're saying what tags are here. So you should probably have a notebook or something ready, write down which tags are there, maybe write the little tag ID. So if you have Google Analytics on your site, write that down in your notebook. If you've got Facebook remarketing, you should write that down. If you've got whatever, just write it down in your notebook because you want to make sure that when you're done with all of this, that you didn't break your website and come back to me and get mad. So the first thing we're going to do after that is create a cookie in Google Tag Manager. The procedure is here. It's about 18 steps. So we're going to skip over that. Here's your executive summary. Next step is to add Google Tag Manager to the site. That is just a snippet of code. You guys are familiar with doing this if you've ever added Google Analytics to the site. So it's pretty straightforward. If you haven't already added your Google Analytics website or snippet to the site, you can do it as a separate chunk of code. Or if you want to do the advanced option, you can actually embed it within Google Tag Manager, and that can be your one snippet of code. So there is some variations. It depends on what you want to do. My preference is actually just to do everything within Google Tag Manager. It provides a nice little user interface for you too. So if you want to do some advanced stuff with analytics, it's just a checkbox. And then you don't have to worry about modifying or adding variables to your code or doing any of that kind of stuff. Google takes care of all that stuff for you. All right, so once you're done adding Google Analytics and Google Tag Manager to your site, whichever method you decide to choose, the next step is to, again, use the Google Tag Assistant extension to verify Google Tag Manager. So you'll go back to that notebook or that fancy text file that you have up on your website. You'll make sure that you still have the tags in there from before and that you had the new tag for Google Tag Manager. So this goes back to the test view. You notice whenever I showed you guys a screenshot of my analytics for my account that we had a test view. So you want to add this filter to the test view. That's covered very much in detail in the procedure as well. Once you've tested out the test view, I would come back and check it out, maybe like a week later. Compare your test view to your main view. Look through your refers and see if everything's working like you expect it to. But you'll want to filter. There's 3 different levels in Google Analytics. There's the account level, and this will be your entire website. Or if you're running an app on a smartphone with Universal Analytics, they give you that option as well. But the account level is for each website that you have. If you have a landing page, that should be, as long as it's not part of your main domain, that should be a separate property, not account, separate property. So you want a separate property for that. For us, we do have a landing page. It's on Unbounce, and that is a separate property, and then the views underneath. So you have one account. It's kind of like your company. And then you have properties, kind of like rooms, maybe within an office. And views, I don't know what those are, manila folders, whatever. So, yeah. But you want to verify your results. So look back over the last week or so. Make sure those refers are filtered out. You know how to look for refers that are spammy, looking for the guys that are 100% bounce rate, and those folks. All right. Whenever you feel like everything is good, you want to copy everything into your main view, which is just a matter of redoing the procedure for the property, and then, for the view, and then you'll be good. So just copying everything over. It's all detailed. It's good having the high-level stuff here. So the big question is, did we block them? So after you look at it a week later, you'll want to make sure that the guys that were there before are no longer there. Now, if you guys will recall, we had 3 different folks that were on here before, and this is the same period, but this is the main view or the filtered view for me. So there were a few visitors that were bots or maybe security conscious folks, and so these numbers kind of changed just a little bit, but not a whole lot. But the localhost one is gone. Sexy Alley is gone as well. And what was the third one? Do you all remember what the third one was? See, I'm testing the audience. What was the third one, audience? What was the third one? The third one was Quality Market Zone. So those 3 are gone. We can see they're all gone here. The really cool thing is, let's see if we can see the stats on there. The bounce rate now is 26.42%. I'm going to do my laser thing again. All right. So bounce rate was 26.42. Average session duration is 347. Pages per session is 370. Let's go ahead and do a quick rewind. Look at what it looked like before. All right, so bounce rate was 50%, 329. Let's look at a little better view here. Hold on a second, guys. Here we go. All right, so you guys can see bounce rate here, 21.38%. That's after all this horrible data has been taken out. Before it was 70.26. That'll just make you want to, I don't know, drink a few extra beers. But yeah, 70% bounce rate. I talked with my copywriter, and this was, around October or so last year, and we kept writing this copy. We're looking at all this stuff. It's like, why is this performing so poorly? But we didn't know the bots were around. So now you know. You don't have to be too worried about it. It is filterable for now. Hopefully they won't be like the Terminator and then get worse and worse and learn. But, we're humans, so we'll do better, right? But yeah, so.
But I want to, I just want to point out that those of us who are writing for ourselves, and you're paying a copywriter, and this just blows the ability to transfer performance out of the water.
It absolutely does. And we had clients that were here in town, and they're in oil and gas, and before blocking these spammers, the only thing I could tell them was to export their data, filter out the stuff in Excel, and then kind of do that route. Because they weren't really good within Google, and I hadn't really come up with the segments method yet. But now I just tell people to filter out with segments, because segments won't break it. But anyway, that's kind of probably beyond.
I think a lot of copywriters are getting slammed unfairly.
Oh, that's a good point. Saying it's their
It's their fault.
Yeah.
Nobody's reading your stuff.
That's a good point. Very good point. So we're on to the Q&A session. Anybody have any questions or maybe some horror stories of what you've run into with this bot spam, either ghost referral spam or traditional? Or maybe you can tell me about some approaches you've taken so far.
I'm a total beginner.
Uh-huh.
I didn't understand your point. Can you explain that, if you don't mind?
So, well, if somebody's writing copy for your website, let's say, for example, I'm a business owner, and I hire a copywriter to come out, write some copy for my site. I have maybe hire 2 or 3, and the bots come in and they maybe unfairly start crawling one of the newer ones. It's going to make their stats look worse. So if we have 2 humans come in and read it and think it's awesome, and we have 8 bots come in and immediately run away, then their bounce rate's going to look bad, which they're measured on, and the average amount of time that people spend reading that article is also going to look bad, which they're going to be measured on as well.
But after you filter out the stuff.
Once you filter it, yeah, but if people don't know to filter it out, that's what happens. If you go out and you set up Google Analytics, and you just, like most business owners, leave it be, thinking it's fine, say it's set up, we're done, then you've only gone a quarter of the way. So yeah, it has to. These days, unfortunately, you have to filter out spam. And I did run into some issues, and this kind of escalated it for me around November or so of last year. And I found, anybody doing any Google Display Network advertising? Have you seen problems there, or any thoughts on Display Network?
No, we set up those filters for most price.
Okay. So you're filtering, and also making sure to. I'm not a PPC person, but can you pretty much lock down which sites your ads will appear on, or is there any? Can you kind of cherry pick it a bit?
You can do specific placements if you want to do placements. So you can set up a group that's just going, okay, I know I want to show on these sites.
Gotcha.
But then you can also, if you want to open it up, you want that to figure out where people might, best place your ads. Yes, it is kind of a constant going through of excluded.
Okay.
You can like set what type of websites you want to show on.
Yeah, I've seen the types. Yeah.
Pulling through the data, you can say, okay, like as John maybe said, this kind of take out as you please.
Mm-hmm.
Or you can kind of go more strict, but like it's better to go for higher impressions usually.
Yeah, we saw a lot, at least from my site, saw a lot of basically fraudulent traffic, and kind of what clued me into it, because I don't read all the SEO stuff like you guys do. I do read through some of it, but mostly whatever percolates through Twitter. And a Wall Street Journal article ran and talked about Amazon and their servers. You can spin up Amazon servers on, the EC2s. They've got a number of different types of servers, and it's scriptable. So programmers love it. They can run a scriptable thing and just have it pop up, install everything on the server, and then do what they need, which in this case is emulating human behavior. And so they have these bots on these Amazon servers that come in and will pretend they're going on your website and pretend to move the mouse and do all of these things. And so they've shown that if you block just Amazon, you can get rid of most of the fraudulent traffic coming to your site. So that was, if you're using Display Network, that's the problem that they're having. Now, you might be able to use this method to help kind of filter out some of the faulty referrers, because I saw a tremendous amount of just spammy referrers coming in through our Display Network advertising. It was so bad that I said the Display Network's not worth it for us, because I would rather advertise on Google Search and then just get a little better traffic. Yeah, the rates are a lot better for Display Network, but there's probably a reason for that. So that's part of it. Now there is, and Jonty can probably tell you some great tactics, but from what I've heard, what you can do is you can basically get a visitor to come in on a cheap word from Google Search. They visit your site, cookies planted, then you can retarget them on a more expensive word, and then at that point, you're not so worried about them being a bot. So that might be a way to go, but talk to other folks in the room for more details. So yeah, any other comments? All right, Sean?
I got a question. Does Google know about this? And is there anything they could theoretically do about it? Particularly the ghost?
You would think so. Yeah, you would think so. But the fact that their display network is full of fraud, their referral traffic, both traditional and ghost, is getting to be a big pain. I'm not sure. I'm sure they know about it. I'm sure they've known about it for years. But I kind of think like maybe they're paralyzed about what they can do for whatever. Maybe it's technical, maybe it's financial, maybe it's a combination. I'm not sure.
Kind of related
No, I don't mean financial in the sense that they don't have the resources. I mean financial in the sense that they don't want to cut off the money. Yeah. Yeah, it's like, Dave.
In Google Search Network, they have now, I've noticed, a little line that shows up at the bottom that says you have referral traffic. I just noticed that recently. Which is me thinking that yes, they were aware that there is a problem and that a lot of, you may have a lot of fraudulent, not due to you,
Right.
problems going on here. And so I switched over because I thought I had kind of a handle on it.
Mm-hmm.
And then I just noticed, oh gosh.
There are so many spammy referrers. There was a list I saw today of 8,000 of them. So can you imagine trying to blacklist or whitelist, or I guess in this case blacklist 8,000? And you have to, like, if you've done one or two, there's a lot of work to it. You have to, like, escape out some stuff, and then the list changes all the time. So then you got to go in every month or two. So yeah. So as long as they don't learn this to get around the cookies, we're in good shape. So I'd say for a little while, this will probably work. Maybe a year from now, they may figure it out. But at least it'll keep the bulk of the spam out for the time being.
When I first started this, they said, I use WordPress.
Mm-hmm.
And you can put a little bit of code in your .html access file.
Mm-hmm.
And that kind of worked.
Mm-hmm.
But, whoever behind things like CML and whoever else, they figured a way around it. I mean, they would just come out with another one. That's all they were doing.
The really funny thing, or go ahead, was it Nick? The really funny thing about CMalt is there were some people that said, I found them in my referral list in Google Analytics, visited their site, got curious, and actually paid them, and then installed their software. And so then their websites became bots for CMalt to spread it around. So not only did CMalt get them through Google Analytics, they went and actually signed up with them, and then they got their sites turned into bots, which is, I don't know. It's funny in a very dark way.
So you're filtering, so like I understand the mechanism,
Mm-hmm.
that like a bot will actually have a cookie placed on its in its cache or whatever. So that's why that's the way the mechanism operates.
Correct. For some reason, the bots aren't currently accepting cookies. And so the cookie right now, what it does is Google Tag Manager sticks it out there, and the cookie has a specific value in it. So it says something like, it's like, what does it say? Cookie validation equals divlari. That's what I put in the instruction. That's it. It's nothing complicated. So it's just a passcode. So just like if somebody just comes to the door and say open sesame. So the bots could come back with a cookie, but if it doesn't say open sesame or whatever keyword you want to put in there, then Google Analytics says, oh, well, the cookie has the wrong value. I'm filtering it out. So it's
So on like on the view level, you can actually set if it has a cookie, if it has a CID on it or whatever.
yeah, at the view level. So you set it up, I believe, on the property, and then you can basically enable it on each view. I forget the exact details, but yeah, you just set it to filter, and then you just enable the filter on each view. Cool. Great questions, guys. Any other questions from the room?
Have you used any other analytics?
I've thought about it. Yeah, great.
I'm wondering if any other services like QuakeGig or something like that already filter these out for you, so you don't have to go do that.
That's what I've heard a lot of people, that's kind of been the first, I guess, reaction from a lot of folks to say, well, if Google's not filtering it out, maybe I just need to use a different service. And I've done some reading, and some of the other services are affected by this as well. And so maybe not the ghost referral spam, but the traditional referral spam, because it's still a session, it's still a hit. When CMalt comes in, there's no telltale sign where 100% bounce rate or one session. It kind of crawls around a little bit more. And so some of the other crawlers would affect whatever system you're using. Now, I don't know. I would hope that somebody would figure this out at a server level. It's got to be coming soon. But for now, it's a royal pain in the analytics. So yeah, glad to have it fixed.
The sites that you found this at, who were they?
Yes, I will be publishing this on SlideShare. And so I always put, so there's me, there's my resources. And then also on page 4 of the procedure here, I have a list of resources to where I found some of the stuff and cobbled it together. The sites didn't do a good job of really explaining the details on how to do this. They just kind of said, Google Tag Manager and you're done. So they did the kind of the executive summary version. And so I kind of had to jump into Google Tag Manager, figure out the details.
And that's a
and get it to work.
I got some good instructions first.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I went back to get more instructions, I got really more fragmentary.
Mm-hmm.
They assumed I understood things I didn't understand. And I'll just call my customers.
Right, right, right.
I can't, there's only so much time that you can devote into battling this.
Right, yeah.
And I have a couple of friends who set up websites.
It's a majority of, yeah,
They
traffic
set up
coming in.
websites a long time ago to try and have a revenue stream.
Mhm.
And now they're like, it's eroding.
Mhm.
There's all this fraud that is eroding our income. And Google doesn't seem to care.
It's true, that's true. I will mention, I do have another method. If you guys give me a business card or send me an email, I do have another method. It's the segment method we talked about before. And so this method with cookies will work once you implement it. So it'll be from that point going forward. But if you want to look at your data going back, then all of that is still bad. And so I do have a method that I can share with y'all that shares segments, and that works for all time, basically. So if you say, forget CMALT, you can just uncheck them.
But it is very time-consuming.
It is, yeah,
So
it is time-consuming.
It's got to be enough money
Yeah.
for you to go back to your client and say, look, it was really not that bad. It was much better than you thought. But if you don't have a client, if you're just for yourself.
You just give this to your client and say, hey, you guys do this. It's written pretty well to where somebody who doesn't understand Google Analytics can go mess with it without destroying their data. But they may not want to do it at all.
Well, I have to stop and ask what I'm going to get out of doing all that. And since I'm not getting a client to pay me, probably nothing.
Yeah, good point.
It's just like nice to know.
And there are services out there that'll do this for you. At least you can point it out to them, and you could at least point them to the slide deck too online. So it'll be on SlideShare. You say, hey, look at this problem. It's not just me making this stuff up, and it kind of goes from there. So that'd be helpful. And there are services out there that will do this for you, but it's kind of scary because the services out there, you have to grant them admin access to your Google Analytics, and it's like, do I really want some stranger that I don't know having admin access to my analytics? Yeah. I got a lot. Yeah. I can see definitely bad things happening there. So there's services out there, but the problem with those too is they're using either the whitelist or the blacklist method, and then you got to come back to them, and it's like a maintenance thing. It's like, come on. So then you want to jump ship and go to another service. Well, cool. Well, I'm John Peterson. Thank you guys very much for your time today. Feel free to hang out and drink a beer. I know we blew through these pretty quickly. Oh, and you guys want these. So these are, there are 20 of these, so there are plenty for y'all. Make sure and get 2 pages each, because this is 2 pages per sheet, 4 pages total.
These are like the magic words.
Yeah, we're very process-oriented within my company, and whenever I run into an issue, I like write up a procedure and then delegate it. so that's where this came from, and this has gone through probably half a dozen different revisions, going through it, making sure it's cool. Not to say that it's perfect, but I did run through it before today. I ran through it yesterday just to make sure everything was current, and Google didn't change the interface on me completely, which it's still pretty good. If you guys find anything, let me know. Happy to improve the procedure, and yeah, happy to help y'all out. So thank you very much.